Good morning, y'all. It is Sunday. It is the last Sunday of April. Yes, as of Tuesday, this month will be in the books, done, and over. I got some stories for you. Let's start. I got my glasses for this. Death by algorithm. Moscow inconsolable after YouTube recommends Maddow, not Moscow, Maddow, Rachel Maddow, inconsolable after YouTube recommends RT interview on Mueller report. I put a link to the article, and you can go watch the interview that Chris Hedges did with a gentleman named Aaron Mate, M-A-T-E. I'm not sure how you say it because he's Canadian. Anyway, she is not happy. YouTube, you're supposed to be pushing the Russian collusion trial. Don't you know that? Russia's a bad guy. RT's a bad guy. MSN, BC, nothing but bullshit company, they're the good guys. Anyway, yeah, look at the sarcasm here. Kim warns Putin North Korea may return to its original state. Now, this falls after John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, and Trump the dope, made the asininely stupid request. It's that request you know is going to be rejected. Like you hand in a half-cocked paper and ask a teacher for an A. Yeah, you know she's gonna say no because the paper's poor quality, but you still expect to get that A anyway. Yeah. Over the week, they issued a mandatory denuclearization clause in an offer to Kim Ung. Kim Ung is not an idiot, okay? He was schooled. He went to the best boarding schools his dad's money could buy. He speaks multiple languages, which means he's already smarter than Bolton right out of the gate. Got Mike Pompeo beat in spades. Trump, well, that didn't take much to beat him anyway. In smarts department. As you can hear, Antonio's got a cold. So yeah, she's gonna be coughing over there on the couch. Anyway, they wanted Kim to give up all his nuclear weapons to, of all places, to America. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't give these bunch of dopes, brainless boobs, a stack of paper and straw. They would somehow mentally screw up a spitball. They find a way to screw it up somehow. Anyway, they want him to give all of his nuclear weapons to Washington, D.C. No. Kim Ung has been watching all these countries, starting with Iraq, that had no weapons of mass destruction, no nuclear weapons, even though Netanyahu went from Congress and said and lied, and he knows it, and said Saddam was trying to get a weapon of nuclear empowerment. And he wasn't. He had no interest. Yeah, I mean, he was making a good living off the oil itself. The fact is, he wanted to take other currencies in payment for the oil. That was not okay. Now, look at President Bashar al-Assad. He gave up his nuclear weapons that were stockpiled from his father's era. And look what situation he's in. Gaddafi, same thing. He's dead. Saddam, dead. The difference between Bashar al-Assad and those two other guys is he had the smarts to get help from Putin. There you go. And now the situation with Iran. They want to get zero exports going out of Iran. That is part of that kind of thing is what caused a war with Japan, freezing their assets, making it impossible for them to make a living. That is what caused them to get into World War II. It wasn't that they got up next. The emperor got up, had a wild hair in his ass, and decided to attack Pearl Harbor. No. Assets were frozen internationally. It got to the point that they could not export nothing. Not even a bottle of sake. And that's what led to war. Flash forward, they're doing the same thing with Iran. Trying to get so they cannot even export a bag of rice outside the country. To try to push the buttons, I got a feeling this is going to backfire. Now, here's where my next story comes in with that. Speaking of backfire, here it is. Yes, President Maduro mocks U.S. Special Envoy Abrams as Vice King of Venezuela. Alright, Abrams went in and tried to persuade all of the pro-Maduro members of the government to join the opposition because the opposition is falling apart. That was not well thought out. It was not planned out. And it's starting to show. This was a half-cocked attempt to overthrow Venezuela, get control of the oil. Alright, now with that said, apparently, let's see, find this, yes, here it is. I got the article pulled up here. The Venezuelan president lambasted Donald Trump's special representative for Venezuela, Abrams, after the diplomat appealed to members of the pro-Maduro governing party to join the opposition and call for elections. Why? There was like 18 other nations last year in May that overseen the elections that were happening, and they know there was no funny business in it. I'm not saying Maduro is below doing that. I'm just saying it didn't happen this time. Says the 18 countries that were supervising the elections. There you go. Maduro accused him of trying to deceive the Venezuelan people, defending the legacy of Hugo Chavez. Let me tell you something right now. That has got to be the most asininely stupid thing I've heard in a long time. Let me tell you. And I thought that denuclearization of North Korea, giving their nukes to us, was taking the cake. No. Back when the Cuban government got overthrown in the 50s, Hugo Chavez was part of it. The government that was in charge of Cuba was pro-US. They got taken down because they weren't really doing anything for the Cuban people in the rural areas. They were still poor and illiterate. The people in Havana were living high off the hog. So, Castro brothers, Hugo Chavez, they said, you know what? No, this is wrong. And they dared to do something about it. They took down that government. Even though the government, Cuban army at that time, the military, had twice, for every one rebel, there were 5 Cuban government military members. So for Hugo Chavez, for one of him, they had 5. And the Cuban government still lost. That's how Castro came into power there. And then Hugo Chavez went to South America to get a similar situation going. Because it was the same. People in the rural areas were poor and illiterate. People in the cities were living high off the hog. It shouldn't be like that. We have that right now. And that shouldn't be that way. Anyhow, the audacity of Elliot Abrams to uphold Hugo Chavez as a hero now, after this government hunted that poor man down and killed him, is laughable. That is what Maduro was blasting him about. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. I've got a sick kid. I gotta go to Walmart, get her some lozenges, the zinc, the Walmart brand, and get her better. I will see you tomorrow for Missing Child Monday.